She looked me straight in the eyes and said the words I'll never forget. "You're not good enough for the life I want anymore." Her voice was cold, like she had rehearsed it 100 times. No tears, no hesitation, just pure disappointment wrapped in designer perfume and a fresh haircut she got for her new circle of friends. I sat there on our worn-out couch, the one we bought together when we had nothing, and I just stared at her. 8 years of marriage, and that's how it ended. Not with a fight, not with screaming, just her telling me I no longer fit into her upgraded vision of life. She wanted luxury vacations, fancy dinners, a husband who turned heads at parties. And apparently I wasn't that man. She kept going, listing everything I lacked. My job wasn't impressive enough. My ambitions were too small. I didn't earn what her friends' husbands earned. The way she spoke, it was like I had become an inconvenience, a leftover from her old, struggling days. She even mentioned how embarrassed she felt introducing me to her new colleagues. I didn't argue, I didn't beg, I simply nodded. Inside, something shifted. The pain was sharp, but so was the clarity. She had no idea what I had been building in silence for the past few years. All those late nights she complained about, all those weekends I spent doing nothing according to her. She thought I was stuck. She thought I was average. So I let her believe it. I signed the papers without drama. I watched her walk out of our house with her head held high, already planning her glowing new chapter. She thought she was finally free from me. What she didn't know was that her new life was about to teach her the hardest lesson of all. And I was going to let her learn it the hard way. We met 12 years ago in a small cafe downtown. She was a fresh graduate struggling to pay her rent, and I was working 2 jobs just to keep my head above water. There was something real between us back then. We laughed over cheap street food, dreamed about the future while sitting on the rooftop of our tiny 1-bedroom apartment, and promised each other we would build everything together. The first few years of marriage were tough but beautiful. I worked long hours at the office and took on freelance projects late into the night. She was studying for her professional certifications, and I made sure she never had to worry about bills. I handled the groceries, cooked most meals, and even delayed my own career plans so she could chase hers. When she landed her first big job, I was the one cheering loudest, celebrating with a homemade cake because we couldn't afford to eat out. We supported each other through everything: family problems, financial shortages, sleepless nights. I believed we were a team. But slowly, things started shifting. After her promotion 2 years ago, she began spending more time with a new group of colleagues. Suddenly, our little apartment wasn't good enough. She started following luxury influencers, saving pictures of designer bags and exotic vacations. She would scroll through her phone during dinner, showing me the lives of people she now called successful. At first, I tried to keep up. I took on even more side work, stayed silent when she criticized my salary, and listened to her talk about wanting a bigger house in a better neighborhood. She started dressing differently, speaking differently, and distancing herself from our old friends. The woman who once said she didn't care about money now rolled her eyes every time I mentioned saving instead of spending. The arguments grew more frequent. She would say things like, "I've worked so hard, I deserve better than this." I kept thinking if I just pushed harder, she would see how much I was doing. But her eyes had already changed. She was looking at me like I belonged to her past, not her future. That evening, she came home later than usual. The scent of expensive wine followed her into the living room. I was sitting at the dining table going through some papers when she placed her bag down and stood there, arms crossed. No hello, no small talk. She just looked at me and said, "We need to talk." Her voice was steady, almost rehearsed. "I've been thinking a lot lately. This marriage, it's not working for me anymore. You're not good enough for the life I want." The words landed like ice. She continued without pausing, listing every flaw she saw in me. My salary was average. My dreams were too small. I didn't push myself hard enough. I was holding her back from the lifestyle she deserved. "I want a divorce," she said flatly. "I need someone who matches my level now, someone who can provide the kind of life I've worked so hard for." She mentioned alimony, keeping the house, and how she expected me to be reasonable about it. According to her, I owed her that much for all the years she had settled. I felt my chest tighten. The shock hit first, then a deep, heavy hurt that made it hard to breathe. 8 years reduced to this moment. But as she kept talking, something inside me went very still. I didn't shout. I didn't defend myself. I simply listened while she tore down everything we had built. She even had the divorce papers ready on her phone, already shown to her lawyer. When she finally stopped, she waited for me to react, maybe beg, maybe cry, maybe fight. Instead, I looked at her calmly and said, "If that's what you want, I won't stop you." She seemed surprised by how quickly I agreed. I signed whatever she pushed in front of me that night, acting defeated, acting broken. On the surface, I played the part perfectly. But deep down, I knew the truth she had completely missed. The divorce moved faster than I expected. She had everything prepared, lawyers, documents, even a clear list of what she wanted. The house, the better car, and a decent chunk of savings. I didn't fight any of it. I simply nodded, signed where they told me to sign, and watched her pack her things with a satisfied look on her face. Within weeks, she was gone. At first, her social media exploded with joy. New profile pictures in expensive restaurants, weekend getaways with her new circle of friends, and captions about finally choosing myself and entering my glow-up era. She posted stories of shopping sprees, spa days, and fancy wine nights. There was even a new man in some of the photos, tall, flashy, always dressed in brands I couldn't pronounce. She looked happy. At least that's what she wanted everyone to believe. I stayed quiet. No posts, no comments, no drama. While she was busy living her upgraded life, I kept my head down and continued what I had been building. She never asked about my work. She never cared enough to notice the extra hours or the quiet moves I was making. But cracks started showing sooner than I thought. Her stories became less frequent. The luxury trips were paired with subtle complaints about how expensive everything was. The new guy's charm seemed to wear off in certain posts, pictures where her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Friends later told me she was struggling to keep up with the lifestyle she had demanded. The rent on her new place was draining her, and the man she left me for wasn't as financially stable as she had assumed. Meanwhile, I focused on myself. I hit the gym regularly, upgraded my wardrobe quietly, and poured everything into my projects. Success was starting to show, but I kept it hidden. No celebrations, no announcements. I simply let her live in the fantasy she had chosen. Months after the divorce, everything changed in one single afternoon. A mutual friend of ours posted a news article on her social media. The headline read, "Local tech entrepreneur sells company for 8 figures." My name was right there in bold. The company I had been quietly building for years, the late nights she used to complain about, the side projects she called a waste of time, had finally paid off. Big. She saw it. Within hours, my phone started lighting up with messages from numbers I had long blocked. Then came the voicemails. Her voice sounded different now, shaky, overly sweet, pretending to be casual. "Hey, I saw the news. I can't believe it. We should catch up. I'm so proud of you." I didn't reply immediately. A few days later, she showed up at my new apartment building unannounced. She looked polished as always, but there was panic behind her eyes. When I finally met her downstairs, she tried to smile. "You never told me things were going this well," she said, her tone laced with disbelief. "All this time, you were hiding this." I looked at her calmly. "I wasn't hiding it, you just stopped looking." She kept talking, bringing up old memories, saying how she had been stressed and confused during the divorce. How maybe we rushed things, how she never really stopped caring. Her eyes kept scanning my new watch, the building behind me, the car parked nearby. The luxury life she had chased so desperately was now standing right in front of her, on the man she had thrown away. I listened without anger. When she asked if we could talk properly, maybe over dinner, I simply said, "You made your choice. You wanted a different life. Now you have it." Her face shifted from shock to something closer to regret as the reality settled in. The man she left for not being good enough had become everything she claimed she needed. Today I wake up in a quiet, spacious apartment overlooking the city. No more arguments about money, no more feeling like I'm never enough. Life has become peaceful in a way I never imagined possible while we were together. I go to the office when I want, work on projects that excite me, and spend my evenings however I choose. The success I kept hidden has grown even more, but I don't flaunt it. I simply live it. She still reaches out sometimes. Short messages that try to sound friendly, asking how I'm doing, hinting at regrets. I reply politely when I feel like it, but never with warmth. Friends tell me she's struggling more than she admits. The new relationship didn't last. The luxury lifestyle she fought so hard for is starting to feel empty now that the excitement has worn off. She has started saying things like, I didn't realize what I had to people close to us. I don't feel joy in her pain. I don't celebrate her mistakes. But there is a deep sense of clarity in knowing I never needed to prove myself while she was leaving. I just kept moving forward in silence. The best revenge wasn't loud or dramatic. It was letting her walk away and watching her discover on her own what she gave up. Every now and then I think about that night she told me I wasn't good enough. The words still echo, but they don't hurt anymore. They became fuel. They taught me that some people only see your value once it's no longer theirs to claim. I've learned to guard my peace fiercely now. I focus on the people who saw my worth before the world did. I'm finally living for myself, building something real, and becoming the man I was always capable of being, without apology and without needing anyone's validation. Looking back, I never imagined that the woman who once told me I wasn't good enough would end up watching me from the sidelines of the life she thought she deserved. I didn't set out for revenge. I simply stopped explaining myself and kept building in silence. What she saw as weakness was actually patience. What she called average turned out to be the foundation of everything I have now. Sometimes the hardest lessons come wrapped in the choices we make. She chose flash over loyalty, status over stability, and noise over quiet strength. And life made sure she learned exactly what that decision cost her. I've moved on completely. New chapter, new peace, and a future that feels completely mine. If you've ever been told you're not enough, remember this: your value isn't defined by someone who fails to see it. Keep working, keep growing, stay silent about your plans until they become too loud to ignore. The right people will recognize your worth without you having to beg them to. Thanks for watching my story. If this resonated with you, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want more real-life stories about relationships, betrayal, and quiet comebacks, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. I'll see you in the next one.